Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we have a rumor that's floating around the community. Content creator here in our Division community, Epic Slayers. Shout out to him. He made a video talking about this particular post you saw on a forum where someone claims that they heard somebody over here, an Ubisoft employee, saying that if Heartland is a success, then the Division 3 or the following Division game that's coming out after Division 2 and after Heartland will more than likely not have PvP in it. Now, to that, I want to be pretty much respond just based on pattern recognition from the way Ubisoft and Massive does things. So first of all, we have to look at the PvP in Division 1 and Division 2. They were made by Red Storm, much of the work has been done by Red Storm. Let me put it that way because that's a safe and more accurate answer. Red Storm did a lot of work in Division 1's Dark Zone and a lot of the PvP, and they also did some work as well in the Division 2's PvP, as well as, they came on State of the Game and talked about specifics about the Dark Zone. So that's how we knew that Terry Spire and some of the folk over there at Red Storm were involved in that process. Now, when you kind of put all that together, Heartland is pretty much a game that once we get more information, we'll know exactly how it works. But from this rumor is pretty much already banking on the fact that Heartland's going to have some kind of structured PvP. I mean, it's assuming anyways. That's what the rumor is assuming. It's pretty much just saying, well, if Heartland does the job, we're not going to need PvP in the next Division game. So I guess that's what that rumor is probably trying to say, because with Heartland, we don't have anything that's been revealed other than the stuff that's been leaked, which even still doesn't really give you a lot of information. But again, like I said, if you go back to the way and patterns that this game and this franchise has worked, you're going to see that every single title that is going to come out of for this game, in a way and in a sense, from a business perspective, has to appeal to all audiences. Now, how can the Division implement a successful PvP down the road so we don't find ourselves in a situation where we're saying or banking on these kinds of aspects? Because to me, what it shows is it shows a game that cannot develop a synergy that the developers or I would say the decision makers, people who are designing the game and the creative aspect of the game, and the players are able to live with. So what we find is you have a PvE that is very solid, very ambitious in the Division 2, and you have a PvP that comes in second place. So if you really want to appeal to your wider audience, how are you going to be able to achieve that? So in my estimation, I think there are landmark decisions that have been made by other games that do have PvP and PvE aspects that can be implemented in a game like the Division 2. Now, some of these concepts don't necessarily seem to be a very straightforward comparison, but I think ideally if you look on the base level, the general level, it's the basic concept itself that really does matter, and how it's implemented is something that will be based on the game. So most of you know I'm not a PvP player in the Division 2, but I am a huge PvP player in Mortal Kombat 11. I joined the Mortal Kombat 11 PvP ruckus in 2019 after the game was released, just a month after the Division 2, and I started picking up the game and learning. I've always been a Mortal Kombat fan, but I didn't play MKX. The wife said it's too graphic for the kids unless you're able to, play it in an office. And so fortunately got a little office space, and so I'm able to play Mortal Kombat 11, and I even made some videos on it on my other channel as time went on. Now, this has given me not only the opportunity to be able to PvP outside of FIFA, which is what I used to do a lot of in terms of my PvP, but it's also given me kind of an ear into the Mortal Kombat community, where basically just a similar thing is happening in that community, where most of its players enjoyed the last game over this current game. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the Division community. A lot of people enjoy the Division 1 over the Division 2, so do many Mortal Kombat X players enjoyed the Mortal Kombat X game over Mortal Kombat 11. Nonetheless, we still play the game, and a lot of the community members still comment. And what I've noticed is the way the development team have been able to take their PvP, they've done something that, even though their hardcore community has their qualms with MK11, they understand and will still tell you that MK11, which is a newer game, is the most balanced game that they've ever made. And that word balance continues to, catch my attention, because the Division 2's PvP is very not balanced. I'm using a chem launcher in this footage that you're seeing, and it's able to deal intense amounts of damage, multi-kill capabilities, and even multi-effect damage over time capabilities. And this is just a simple 4-piece Eclipse Protocol build. You take a thing like that into PvP, it becomes really problematic. Even when you have the PvP modifier, you still have to deal with the effect of Vow Mask and the Eclipse Protocol bonus that spreads those particular effects when you kill an enemy NPC. So these things, I feel like, have to be really looked at the way they're put into a PvP context, that it may be, if they're making another Division game, they absolutely nullify that you're not able to use specific things inside of the PvP context. This is not new, and this is the reason I actually mentioned the Mortal Kombat community, because in Mortal Kombat, there's a way that the developers decided to open up the PvP in a progressive manner. What I mean by that is their PvP has different varying, aspect of, things. They have a casual PvP, and then they have a competitive version where you can use only specific structured select builds. So you cannot just basically, slap on your own, moves and skills. You really have to use what they had already tailored for players to be able to use. This was able to make them easily balance the competitive side of the game. And because a game like this is a game that goes to the competitive realm, they were able to make changes and all that stuff in that context. Whereas in the casuals, everybody can just knock themselves out with the overpowered stuff. So I believe that the way the Dark Zone is currently structured and the way that it does allow for everybody to be able to use everything and anything, something like Conflict is supposed to, in my own mind, inhibit you from just using and spamming all of the skills that you were already using in your regular Dark Zone runs. This, in my opinion, would have provided multiple gameplay modes that had more depth and had more reasoning behind them, which I think is something that I've heard a lot of PvP players say. So this way you find a middle ground where you can actually say, as a PvP player, I can still enjoy the skills that I've been able to buff. I can enjoy my overpowered builds in the context of some casual PvP in the Dark Zone, because that's what it is. And then when we want to kind of, really go toe to toe with one another and really show who's got more skill, then definitely we're looking like we're going to be fighting ourselves in the context of, say, Conflict, or maybe they add some more modes like Capture the Flag and all the other modes that a lot of these PvP contexts do have. So this is pretty much what I think they can do for rumors like this to not be seeding themselves in the community. Now, not saying that the reasoning behind this is bad or good. I'm just saying there won't be any need to even have to say, well, we're going to eliminate PvP from a game like this that even PvP players, I know they still PvE to get their gear and stuff, enjoy. So there won't be any need to alienate your community. Instead, you'll find yourself in a position where you can actually harmonize the community. And instead of balancing the entire Dark Zone, you're only balancing places like Conflict and balancing those modes that do have a little bit more competition and a little bit more skill requirement to it. So when you boil it down to what this could look like, I believe that this rumor is, like I said, just a rumor. But if this is true and something that they're thinking about, I believe strongly that the developers ought to consider something like this. So on the launch of another Division game, fully paid game along the lines of Division 2, because I believe strongly that that's where the story will continue. Fei Lao's story isn't finished. There are a lot of different characters that are still in the in this particular world that can still continue another game. In my opinion, I believe that will come with a PvP element, and a PvE element. But the PvP element will come out of the gate having a very staunch, restricted mode where players who want to go battle it out will face themselves without any of the overpowered stuff. While if you're not wanting to do that, then you can go ahead and engage yourself in the Dark Zone. So this is what I believe and strongly think is probably going to allow for some level of sanity between player and developers. Because yes, the players, it really gets frustrating when someone's hitting you with all these skills. And for the developers, I can be certain that, nobody wants to sit there and continue to rebalance what they've already balanced before because somebody else doesn't really like it. But if you can balance something in a small context, it makes things quite easier, as well. Now, here's the progressive, PvP change that I was trying to kind of mention in this video. So over time, the developers at NRS for Mortal Kombat 11, even when they made the competitive variations of characters, they eventually allowed for you to be able to actually make up your own variations and, over time. And this started to unlock the potential of more and more characters. So I believe that even if they say, okay, we're going to make this mode where you don't have anything, over time, they can start doing fun things like, okay, we're going to let you be able to use one skill, or we're going to be able to let you use maybe, your signature weapons, for this. So only your weapons and your signature weapons. That's if it's going to have signature weapons. All of these little things can start to come in. And even still, when they started letting people build their own variations as well, which is pretty much, building your character, some moves and some, abilities are still restricted. There are just some characters that you cannot use specific moves from them. One of my favorite characters that I play is, kind of a side character, is Frost. And she has a move that cannot be used in any competitive, setting. I can use those moves in a casual PvP, but I cannot use it in any of their, in quote, competitive PvP. Even though I'm not going to compete in some tournament, they still consider that competitive, variation and that competitive space something that they take very seriously and players do take seriously. So I believe strongly that if Ubisoft Massive can take this approach, they will find a balance that it is that they need, because the game more likely is not going to come out of the door 100% balanced. That's how these RPG games work. Somebody's going to find something that's busted and broken that missed QA, and then they're going to be running around to patch it. They'll more than likely be patching things in PvE, and then for PvP, it will be easier if they just pick one select place to say, for now, we can't get to the overall general mechanic in all of the dark zones. So yes, everyone's going to be mad, but where people are coming to go toe to toe and actually show their skill, we're going to work on making sure that this is balanced, and they're going to keep it that way and make it sane. I think if they did this, we're not going to have rumors like this, and things like these are not going to confuse the community even more. Because what I think Massive Ubisoft hopes to achieve is that they have a united front in their messaging to their community, where everybody and anybody can pick up any Division game and play it for what that game is. Division 1, you can pick it up and play it for what it is. Division 2, you can pick it up and play for what it is. If Heartland comes out, I believe it's going to be another game you can pick up and play for what it is. So this is how I think it should be, and I think these approaches are more than likely going to make more sense. At the end of the day, though, it really does, depend on what the developers want to do. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think this is plausible? Do you think that the approach that I've mentioned here is actually a decent approach? I know NRS is not necessarily too popular among their community right now, but hey, I live in a Division community. Many devs and many development firms are not so popular with their community. Even Rockstar gets into trouble. And so if Rockstar can get into trouble, anybody can get into trouble. Talk to you guys in another video. Peace out.